The thing with the why is that we've got to bypass the ego and really get to the heart of really asking why, because it's really, really, really easy for us as humans, we're coded and wired this way, to become the victim, right? Why? Well, because that person is rude, or this person doesn't appreciate me, right? Or whatever that looks like.
Welcome to the Eons Ahead podcast. I'm your host, Alex Wolf. And on this show, we like to have intimate conversations with intelligent people that are eons ahead. And what does it mean to be eons ahead? Well, it means they're ahead of their time. They see things other people don't see, and they're able to communicate these visions to the world and manifest them into reality to make a positive impact for humanity. They're doing things that most people are not doing, which I love. They're pioneers, they're trailblazers, they're conscious leaders. And our guest today is definitely in that category. Her name is Jenna Kennedy. She was an elementary school teacher that quickly realized that everything rises and falls based on leadership. She chose to leave the standard education system and pursue a career as a coach, where she had tremendous success, growing her business to over 7 figures in just 1 year. Pretty remarkable. What's even more remarkable is she decided to close that business down to pursue something even more meaningful. While on her deeper discovery journey of healing and redefining success, she merged the worlds of psychology, spirituality, healing, business, and success. And now she coaches and guides leaders on a path of conscious leadership, not only making a positive impact in the world, but cultivating and creating success and fulfillment from within. She's eons ahead. She's here today, Jenna Kennedy.
I'm so grateful to be here.
So grateful to have you here.
Oh my gosh, and to my first time hearing the mission of Eons Ahead.
Yeah.
And what an honor to be a part of it.
Oh, well, we're honored to have you here.
Well,
so
thank you.
There's so much I want to get into.
Yes.
But let's start from the beginning. Let's go
Okay.
back. So take us back to the time when you're an elementary school teacher.
Yeah.
Did you always have the calling to be a coach or an entrepreneur, or how did that, walk us through that?
So I'm from the Midwest, all right? And this is like 2000 and let's say 17. Always wanted to help people, right? And growing up, the internet didn't work like it did. And so it was like, be a nurse or be a teacher. And I love kids. So that was just a simple route. But the moment, my first year, I was a kindergarten teacher, and I just knew that there was something more, right? And I think that's something so many of us feel, and we can't quite put words to it. And so I knew that there was more. And I thought it was become a principal. So I got the master's degree and the ed specialist degree. And I started to study and fall in love with this concept of leadership, because I truly realized that if you want to make the most impact in one child's life, you've got to go in the family, and you've got to go bigger. You've got to go at the district level or the school level. So I knew that I wanted to do something at that level, at that scale, but I would get the degree and be doing the work in the elementary school and come home to my husband and be like, there's something else. And so one day I met a friend who was an entrepreneur and a coach, and I asked her what she did. She said, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, I didn't know what that word meant, right? Like I was the first one in my family to go to college. Like I did not know what an entrepreneur was.
Right.
So I got in my car and I Googled entrepreneur, and I couldn't spell it,
love it.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, what is an entrepreneur? And I started to open my eyes up to this world of coaching, thankful for social media that I saw a possibility outside of mine. And within a year, I had decided that I was going to take that route, because it was helping people in a different way, and it was doing what I loved. And the rest was a little bit of a history.
Wow, what a leap.
Yeah, it was a huge leap. I was in the best school district in Michigan.
Wow.
Had a pretty secure, path of becoming a principal and have those dreams come true.
Right.
I was just at a fork in the road.
Fork in the road, and you saw an opportunity, you got inspired, it sounds like, and
Very
you're like,
much.
wow, there's something more.
Yeah.
And you took the leap into entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And then, as I mentioned, you had tremendous success.
Yeah.
Walk us through the journey of, what was your secret sauce, or what do you think was the thing that, really fired you up to get this tremendous success?
Yeah. I've always loved helping people. I've from the time that I was a kid, I just felt like that was just a big job of ours in this world, was to make it a better place.
Yes.
It was just ingrained in me from birth. I mean, truly, I don't really have, it's not like anyone was telling me that over and over and over again. And,
Right.
In the education system, I did love it so much. And I had dreams of having such a bigger impact, but I was fighting a system. And in the education system, I worked with majority of my time, the bottom 10% of students. So the kids who struggle the most.
Wow.
So I very quickly learned that if you can make a connection with the heart, you can make a connection with the mind. And I very quickly learned that learning was, and change was simply how we process information and take in the world and how we feel about ourselves. I was tutoring as well. And a lot of the kids I was tutoring were girls, and they didn't struggle in school. They struggled with their self-worth. They struggled with self-efficacy. They struggled with what other people thought of them from the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th grade. If we really think about it, the personal healing work that we all do, so much happens at that time.
Right.
So in that moment, I realized if we don't really help here, it's gonna turn into these problems over here. And so at that time, it was helping women in their relationship with food. I had healed myself from an eating disorder. So it was nutrition coaching.
Oh, cool.
And I did not really mean to start helping people, but people kept asking me for help. And so I took all of that I learned from school, like how to teach, how to lead. If I can help them make a connection to their heart, they're going to be able to change. And I started the nutrition coaching business, and it just organically took off. I had less than 1,000 followers on Instagram, but I put passion and love and heart into it. And I just knew that I could help people. And knowing what I overcame, I just really couldn't imagine women waking up not being able to eat certain foods because they felt this way about their body. And then that business exploded. And then a bunch of people just kept asking me, how are you doing it? And that's how I became a business coach. And then, I just took everything that I learned and taught it to people. And I've always been a massive researcher and understanding why. And COVID happened, business exploded. And that was right after that was my first 7-figure year. And it was just understanding people, right? And if we can really, truly help people, not at the surface, but to the depths and the core of their being, and we can help them heal and we can help uncover, that's really what businesses are all about. What they should be all about, actually. What I think they should be all about.
Absolutely. No, well said. I actually couldn't agree more. And, call it a secret sauce or not, but I do believe that's really the root of it is that you wanted to help people, right? And that's really what it's all about or should be about. And you're, solving a problem of eating disorders or eating
I would say more disordered eating. I wasn't certified for like an eating disorder, but really helping women heal their relationships with food, which is really helping women heal their relationships with their body. Right. Because what we do without is just what's happening within. And I saw that with kids over in ADHD boys over and over and over again. It was chaos within that was causing the chaos without. And so it's these same topics of helping people just in different ways.
Totally. And it's such a good point because if you can help someone with their way that they eat, which controls so much of the way that we think about life. Like I noticed this on myself too. I spend so much time thinking about what I'm going to eat and buying the food and cooking the food. And it's like, this takes up a lot of my bandwidth, and then I emotionally eat sometimes, and out of boredom or entertainment. So it's like, I think there's really a level of like self-mastery there for if you could master just what you put into your body, it plays so many factors on so many levels, physically and mentally and emotionally, hormonally. So I think you're really onto something there. You make it sound very simple, but it's really like
it's complex.
It's complex.
It is because it's psychological. It's what we put in our body. There's a reason for it, right? There's a reason why we're doing it. And as a culture, we eat when we're happy, we eat when we're sad, we eat when we're anything in between, right? And so to really disconnect, not even disconnect, but here's my emotions and here's what it is that I want to do with these emotions. And it involves something. It involves food. Is this adding to my life or taking away? And then later when I became a business coach, I saw the same thing with money. It was the same exact pattern, but with money, right? It was like, here's my emotions, here's my goals, and then here's money. And how we utilize money the same way that we utilize food. I'm going to buy something, I'm going to spend it, or I'm going to make a bunch of it and hope that it makes me feel a certain way. But in reality, nothing outside of us can make us feel that way.
Right. It all starts from within. And that's what you get us back to. Is it sounds like I've heard this a couple times you talking, it's really going to the core of the issue and finding that root cause or that root driver, or tell us more about that. It sounds like it all really starts from within.
think I'm obsessed with getting to the roots of things. Like I always say it, and I said it's my mid-30s garden era. It's good if you want to try it. Yeah. Let me know. It's great. It's a great era to go down. It's really fun growing your own food.
Love it.
So last summer I decided to embark on my mid-30s garden era. And I learned so much just about, this, lessons are all around us all the time. And I was gardening, I was pulling up things from the root. And there was this gnarly vine with all these, pokers on it. And I'm trying to get to the root. And of course I can't, it's too deep down there. And what happens a week later, it grows right back, right? And I'm trying to get to the root and it grows right back. I'm like, this is life, right? If we really, truly don't get down to the core and the root of why we do the things that we do, consciously and unconsciously, most of it unconsciously, then we're just going to keep repeating the patterns.
Totally.
And so we look at our reality. It's like, oh, I don't love this. I don't love the finances. I don't love that that I'm not taking action on this, or I don't love my relationships or my friendships. And it's often let's just try to change the habit, right? Let's just try to change what it is that we do. Let's try to just shift this. And if we don't get to the root and the core of why we're doing the things that we're doing and why we're attracting or why we're creating it, then we're just going to keep recreating it over and over and then wonder one day why we're there. My favorite quote is Carl Jung, if the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and we'll call it fate, right? And so my favorite work to do is to get to the root of the unconscious, to really understand where it is that we're at and why it is that we're there, uncover it, illuminate it, so that you then can be the conscious creator of your reality, right? Because everybody wants to be the conscious creator. Everyone wants to make whatever it is that they want to make in this world. But when you've got those weeds that are holding you down and holding you back, we can't do it.
Totally. Wow. That's, you're really onto something here. What's a way that, for the viewers and listening at home, what's like a simple way where they can start to pay attention more to the root cause of things? Like, is it just asking yourself why? Like, why do I do this? And just like keep going? Or what else do you think? What do you got?
Well, there's two aspects of it. Right? There's the mental, and then there's the emotional. Now, often we don't want to get to the emotional because
it's uncomfortable.
It's pretty uncomfortable, right? And especially in an entire world where we've been really taught and conditioned to compartmentalize and numb those things, right? And so as adults, this is some of our hardest things to do. What I think you would agree that's where the courage is, right? That's where the strength is. That's where the power is, to be willing to actually go in, feel it, heal it, whatever that looks like. So there's the one that could be more logical, which is simply asking why, right? Why? Why is this going on? Why is this happening? Now, the thing with the why is that we've got to kind of bypass the ego and really get to the heart of really asking why, because it's really, really, really easy for us as humans, we're coded and wired this way, to become the victim, right? Why? Well, because that person is rude, or this person doesn't appreciate me, right? Or whatever that looks like.
Outside of ourselves.
Outside of ourselves, right? And so taking radical responsibility, rooted in the heart, and just keep asking why. Because if you created it, you can change it. And that's power.
That's empowering.
That's empowering, right? Wow. And the other one would be, I always say, follow the feelings and the emotions, right? So follow the feeling. And then once you follow the feeling, okay, what does this feeling have to tell me, right? And it kind of allows you to work with the feelings and the emotions that are so uncomfortable, like working with them versus allowing them to take over us, right? That's the tough thing with emotions, especially the lower density emotions, is that we're afraid that the fear is going to take over us and stop us, right? We're afraid that the shame or the guilt are going to take over us and we're never going to be able to amount to anything. So I always say, follow the feeling and work with the feeling. What are you here to teach me? Why am I feeling ashamed of this? Why am I feeling guilty of this? And truly working with those two together, it can merge the conscious mind and that subconscious emotion to really get deep down into that root.
Wow. Powerful stuff there, Jenna. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Okay, so let's continue on this journey that you went on over the last couple of years. So you become an entrepreneur, you become a successful money coach. Is that fair to say?
Money in business.
Money in business. Yep. So teaching people how to crush it in the business world and fellow entrepreneurs and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then you have tremendous success, 7-figure year. You're, a lot of people would, that doesn't happen very often. So it's like a major milestone.
For sure.
And then what happens? You didn't feel fulfilling anymore, or what? Walk us through that journey.
Yeah, I had my first 7-figure year and I was like, all right, we're going to do multiple in the 7, it's how we're conditioned, right?
Right.
Just set the bar higher, the bar higher. Come on, let's do more. Next year was pretty much exactly the same. And then it was last year, woke up one day and I was like, so there's something more, right? There's something more. And I loved what I did, right? I loved helping people build businesses that created impact in the world. And I loved helping people make money. Like truly, like money makes the world go around. Money is one thing that everyone wants more of, right?
Sure.
Money gives us opportunity, gives us experiences. But I realized that just business and money wasn't it. Like it just wasn't. It felt, the work started to feel empty. Yeah. And I loved it at one point in time, but it just felt empty. And I was good at it. I had the systems built, the back end built, all the programs built, the plan, like I had everything built. And I just sat there and I was just like, I can't do it.
Wow.
Like there's something different, there's something more. And so I made a really difficult decision to shut it all down.
Wow.
Yeah. I legitimately left $1 million on the table.
Wow.
Like I just said, I can't do it. And it's tough because I was a very successful business coach. I worked with people all over the world, and your identity is tied up until you do the work. Your identity is tied up into how much money you make, the opportunities that money brings, right? And it really, truly was. And I felt a little crazy at first, but I said, there's something more. It was just a strong feeling of there's something more. I said a couple prayers and received some immense guidance, and kind of knew it was going to be a gnarly journey after that.
Right.
Because it did. It's not like it was like, the story, I think what my ego really wanted the story to be was, I shut it down and then I woke up one day and there's this beautiful vision of what it was, and I built it and I made like $90 million in a day. I would love that. I wanted that story, but it wasn't. And I knew that the messages that kept coming through were, buckle up. It's going to be a rough ride.
Right.
And it really was from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So walk us through that rough ride, whatever you're comfortable in sharing.
Yeah,
but I think,
everything.
Okay, nice.
I'm here for it all.
Amazing.
Yeah. I at that point in time, so shut a lot of it down. I had some core business stuff still going. I was still working with clients, and I had never known the magnitude of a mental health battle until after that moment. I've got mental health struggles in my family, seasonal depression on one side, anxiety on the other, and it's been a part of my life forever, right? Also have alcoholism on both sides of my family, right? So addiction, mental health, self-worth, confidence, all of that, it's been work my entire life. But I kind of thought that I beat it, right? Like here I am, I'm first one to go to college, I got all of this success, and I'm helping, like, it's not like I just took all the money. Like I was spreading it to my family, like flying them down, taking them on trips. Like I wanted to give back. I wanted for other people to feel this abundance that I got to now live.
Yeah.
And so when I decided to let it all go, and I decided to let all of that go, I thought that that's what I was saying. I thought that I kind of beat the mental health battle, right? Because I was there, I was happy, I loved what I did. Only to realize that I didn't. Probably had it worse than anyone. And I sat on my couch. There were a solid 2 months that didn't want to see anyone, didn't want to do anything. I would cry on my couch every single day. It just felt like this entire vortex of darkness just was completely taken over me. And I went to my therapist one day and I said, okay, so I think I'm debatably depressed. And he said, okay, well, tell me more about that, right? As many therapists do. And I told him how I was feeling, what I was experiencing. And he said, Jenna, you have every single symptom of depression. And I said, no, it's debatably depressed. He said, you have every symptom. I'm not going to diagnose you, but you have every single symptom of depression. And in that moment, my whole body it was like those words I actually allowed them to come in, right? Versus deflecting it with the debatably depressed, right? And all those words came in, and I said to him, I don't have time to be depressed. I'm the breadwinner of my family. I lead these people all over the world. I take care. I have 4 people on my team, and 3 of them are family. And I take care of all of them.
Right.
Like I can't be depressed. I'm the helper. I'm the fixer. Because it's my role my whole entire life.
Right. Identity.
My whole identity. Right. Why I wanted to help people when I first grew up. Right. And he goes, yeah, you need to learn how to let those avatars go. And the months that followed in learning how to let those avatars go, it was terrifying.
Right.
I mean, it was, I would scream, I would cry, I would have nightmares of just, who am I in this world when people aren't looking to me to help them with something?
Right.
Who am I in this world if nothing's attached to it? Not people, not family, not my dogs, not my friends, not money, not business. Like, who just am I with nothing else attached to it? And that was one of the hardest questions that I had to answer. because as humans, we feel so good, so much power, so much success, so much of our belonging, so much of our safety and security are rooted in things outside of ourselves.
Right.
And in that was the season of really, truly, can you find these things within? Can you unlock them within and without, right? Like above. And can you lean on your faith and spirituality and actually let God into your life? Not just when it's convenient for you, and not just when you need something, but live a sacred life and consciously lead something differently. And my work got to be birthed out of that. But it was scary. It was hard. It was a journey that I look back on and I know I needed so badly.
Wow.
You know, I truly did. I believe everything happens for us and it was synchronistic. But one that I hope many people don't have to go into the depths of, because it was dark. It was really dark. I said to my husband, I would never leave this earth, choose to leave this earth, but I completely know why people do.
Wow.
Like I really understand why people choose to end their lives now. And that was kind of a scary place to be.
Yeah.
You know, of like, I get it. I get the depths of it.
Yeah. Wow. Let me ask you, like, by going into these dark nights of the soul and really facing...
I really thought they were just a night at one point.
Right.
Or didn't you?
Yeah.
Why are they longer than a night? But no one says that.
Right. No, it goes, you know, it goes. It's really deep, right?
Yeah.
It's these depths of darkness that, you know, it sounds like and feels like that we create these identities or these avatars just so we don't have to go into these depths, right? As long as we're so busy being these identities, which are great in a certain ways. We can achieve a lot of things in the matrix and do some cool stuff and, you know, like give back to people, like you said, and give, you know, our family the abundance maybe they never felt and that stuff, which I think is beautiful. I can relate to that too. It was an amazing thing. But I think you're onto something here, that we create these identities so that we don't have to face these extremely uncomfortable emotions and darkness and stuff like that. But it sounds like to me that, you know, and you know, fill us in, but by going to this deep, dark nights of the soul and facing off with your biggest, darkest fears, and now coming on the other side of that, like, you know, you're radiant, your energy is glowing, and you're onto this new venture in your life now. So like, wouldn't it have been like such a blessing, even though it was so difficult?
Yeah, of course. The greatest blessing.
Nice.
The greatest blessing, truly. You know, and we know so many of these things, right? Like, you know, this aspect of the different parts and different avatars that we create, right? But to really go in and experience them, right? That's a whole nother world.
Yes.
And I hold a reverence and an honor for being able to do that, you know, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that.
Right.
And so it is a beautiful, you know, it's another Carl Jung, right? The tree's roots, the tree's branches cannot reach heaven if the roots do not reach hell.
Yes.
Right. And it is the reality of the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Right. Of like the depths of darkness in which we courageously and willingly traverse, we are then able to live and to lead the energetic flip side of it, right? The emotional flip side of it. And I think when we do that, I'm sure you've been there too. I'm sure you've had a dark night of the soul, or many.
A couple, yeah.
Right? Or a couple of them, right? It's like when you're in this part of it, on the flip side of it, right? Up in the highs of it, you have such a deeper reverence and respect and honor for it.
For sure.
Right? And so often people say, you know, gratitude, how gratitude, it's so important to live in gratitude. I think that when you know this darkness down here, and then you live in the light up here, you have just a natural gratitude of just waking up with a clear mind and a full heart. You're like, oh, thanks, God.
Big
like
time.
this, right?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. It's a major relief even. Like, it's like such a burden has been lifted off, but it's almost like those dark times or rock bottoms that, you know, that we both faced off. They were almost like qualifiers, you know? It's like,
I like that.
they've qualified me to be able to have these conversations and also, you know, speak to other people or on my team or friends and family about like really perseverance, you know? Because it's not, you know, like the old quote, it's not how many times you get knocked down, but how many times you get back up, right? And I know we both enjoy a good comeback story, you know, and the comeback is always better than the setback. So I can definitely appreciate this story, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
I know it's really personal. So then, okay, you go through the dark nights, you've come out on the other side, you have this gratitude and this radiance and willing to share the light again with the world. And then how does this new version of Jenna come out, and tell us about the new venture?
Yeah, she's living.
Yeah.
She's living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, the venture, we hear it so often, right? If you sit with an ounce of plant medicine, it's like the first message that comes through, right? It's about the being, right? It's about who we are and then what it is that we do, right? And to now live a life in which a life of true detachment, like truly, like I'm learning. I'm sure there's more and more that I'll learn down the road, but in this moment in life, I've never felt so detached. And I used to think that detachment was powerless, right? Where it was kind of like apathy and just, whatever, but like detachment truly is like the great surrender.
Sure is.
Right? It's like I trust and I know that I'm being led. I trust and I have faith in the powers that support us on this earth. I trust that I'm being led by God every single day. And there's this power and there's this certainty of being detached from the earthly achievements and the things that the money or the milestones, right? There's this power and this joy in being detached from it, right? Because yes, those things are cool and they're fun and they're exciting as humans, but to come from a place of wholeness and to live in a place of wholeness of like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to live in, a little shack on the side of the road, but like, if I did, like, I'd crush it,
Nice.
like that would still be good. And so there's this feeling of like wholeness and joy. And then being able to bring that into creations is a completely different experience, right? And I also feel like I'm learning, and I'm curious actually if you've felt this with Eons and with this podcast, is I'm feeling like there's a completely different type of creation that's being asked, right? It's no longer the ego being like, I need to do this in order to boom, 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 right?
Sure.
And like plan it. It truly feels as if there's this like life force creation of like learning what true creation is versus what we have said that creation should be as humans. Have you felt like that?
I have felt like that. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. And I play around a lot with that in Eons, especially more lately. And it's really, really cool that you bring up detachment, because detachment is like my theme of this year of 2024.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, it is. And to be honest, it's really the first time that I'm consciously aware that I'm doing it and playing with it. Like I had a really big deal in the works for like 8 months with this company, and back and forth and all kinds of stuff, ups and downs and highs and lows, and all the attachments that I would put onto this deal. And I could literally feel the weight of them on my day-to-day basis. Like, oh, what if this doesn't happen? And all the other things that were attached to it. So for me, that was the big lesson that I needed to learn last year, until I finally let go and finally detached from it in January of 2024. I was like, okay, I'm detaching, I'm letting go, whatever's meant to be is meant to be. And like literally within 3 days, the deal closed, and it was like, it was a big deal. We're partners with these people and we're going to do some amazing collaborations. I'm super excited about it. But it was, and I'm so grateful for it now, because now it was truly a lesson in detachment.
Right.
So now when I play around in, creating new products for Eons and new launches, I'm way more detached, and, I think we chatted about that a couple of weeks ago over Super Bowl, and you're like, oh, are you excited? And, do you need it to go a certain way, or do you get nervous?
Yep.
And I was like, not really anymore. Like,
you were cool.
We'll just see what happens. Yeah. Thank you.
You were smooth.
I was like, we'll see what happens. Right. Because it's exactly like you said. I'm so glad that came up, is because I'm truly learning detachment. And so I'm playing with it. So yeah, thanks for that reflection. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so much more fun to lead a purpose and to run a company, right? And to impact, right? When you're in that space, right? Because we talked about it, but I think it might have been earlier before we pressed record, was this aspect of like, it doesn't rise and fall on you, or doesn't rise and fall on me.
Right.
Right. It's like, it's truly like a co-creation and a divine intelligence coming through, right? Of like, here's this idea.
Yes.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah.
And it's been a whole different ball game, because I was always a doer and achiever, and I got the doing and the achieving mixed up with creating.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Two very different things.
So different.
Yeah.
But when you're doing and you're achieving, it looks like creating, right?
It does.
Because you're just doing it.
Yeah. And you get hooked on it.
You get, dopamine
Yeah.
on self-worth, on self-worth, right? And so learning this art of true creation. And it's humbling.
It is humbling.
Because it's no longer just about you.
Right.
And when you go in throughout your entire life with the ego wanting it to be just about you, it's a beautiful, humbling thing.
Beautifully humbling thing. And it's a big shift. And I'm really happy you're on this other side of the shift. And it's great to experience that with you. Speaking of shifts, I'll go back to the first time we actually met was at a good friend of ours' birthday party.
Yes.
And we
just moved here, right?
I just moved here, moved to Austin and met you and your husband. And our first conversation was around mushrooms, and it piqued your interest. So, and then, I eventually, I think I gave you some mushrooms.
You did with in a princess baggie.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was like I forget that movie, but yeah.
Frozen.
Frozen.
It was a frozen baggie.
Frozen
It was not
baggie.
what I was expecting.
Yeah, no kidding. But it's what's inside that counts, like you said.
Exactly.
And so, tell us your views on mushrooms specifically. We'll get into psychedelics as a broad, but mushrooms specifically, what's your take on them?
Yeah. God's gift. I really do always believe that, whether it's psychedelics or not, it's how do we have this thing on this earth? Like truly, like I always love to discover things via a question, right? Because piques our curiosity. It's like, we don't really know, but discover it, right? It's like, how do we have this thing that can grow anywhere, right? Legitimately anywhere out of anything.
Yeah.
That has such a profound effect on our mind and our body to access the spirit and the soul. Like truly, and they all do that, all types of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so I'm a huge fan of them.
I love that.
Yeah. Why, do you have a company or something?
Yeah, I might, yeah. So where do you see mushrooms playing a factor in mental health? And where do you see it? Yeah, we'll start with that. Where do you see mushrooms playing a factor in mental health?
So much so. I'm really excited to continue to watch it rise in the mental health studies in the mental health world.
Yeah.
Given what I don't like to call it a battle with depression. I battled it for a while and then I realized that it takes two to battle. And no one's really going to win when it's all within you. And I just released, I just surrendered to it. I just allowed it to be. I allowed it to completely take over. And so given that season of my life, I'm such an advocate for it in mental health and to support us in, number one, discovering who we are when we don't have the ego and the attachments and the parts that are speaking so loudly.
Right.
I think it has a profound impact in my life and I've seen it in others. I've brought it into my family. It's been really powerful.
Beautiful.
And, to support us in detaching from all of those stories and all of those illusions and all of those lies and really get to our core most natural state. And then being able to access a higher level of intelligence throughout it. I believe it can benefit many people. I'm not going to go ahead and make a blanket statement there, but I think it can benefit so many people and in a variety of different areas of life, right? Then you've got not even psychedelics, you've got the health benefits of it, right? And then, you've got I feel like it's a perfect mind, body, spirit that encompasses it together.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, they're definitely incredible beings. I consider them like nature's technology, like the way they communicate with each other all underneath the ground and transporting nutrients and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, they're their own kingdom. A lot of people don't realize that there's the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the fungi kingdom. So, and they've survived for billions of years. So I'm glad you're on the same page and a big supporter as that.
Question about that really fast.
Yeah.
Right? Please. So they're its own kingdom, right?
Yeah.
And we know what it's doing. What is it specifically doing as it relates to mental health? Right. I have my what I've learned, but it's definitely not as researched as yours. As far as it relates to the neurological pathways, right? We know that our brain is malleable. We know in neuroplasticity, and I believe that when we can rewire the subconscious, that's how we can change our reality, right? So how specifically is it playing a role in that?
Oh, good question. Great question. It is specifically playing a role in it in the way of neurogenesis. So it's psilocybin has been shown to actually create neurogenesis in the brain. So it creates a new pathway. So it's literally carving out a new way of looking at things. And if you have a new way of looking at things, you really have like a new mind. And a new mind, you can have a new perspective. And now with a new perspective on life, you're starting to make different decisions, and different decisions create habits, and habits create, your choices, and choices create destiny. So it's really all connected. And it was put to me like, we, by doing these same choices and same habits over and over, we're like carving out like a ski slope in our brain, where we just, okay, this happens, I react this way, and it just becomes our default,
Right.
it's our default mode network in the
Right.
brain. So this actually creates a new pathway in the brain, so you can make new choices. Yeah, it plays such a factor in that. And then just going back to functional mushrooms, they're incredibly rich with polysaccharides, and polysaccharides are very biologically valuable to our immune system and to our gut health, and which affects everything. They're anti-cancerous, they're anti-inflammation, anti-hypertensive. So they're just so rich in all these nutrients for our body. It's like we were truly meant to have them. So yeah, thanks for asking.
So good.
Yeah, it's been remarkable.
Well, I've just, I've gone on my little, Google trails of the neuroplasticity piece of it. And I think it's, so many people want to become eons ahead, right? Or they want to evolve, or they want to grow to their max potential, right? It's within us as humans to want to what? Self-actualize, right? It's the thing that we all want to do no matter what. And so to have something that's straight from the earth and that can legitimately support us in helping us with our safety, security, belonging, identity, so that we really truly can become those best versions of ourselves. It's again, God's gift to the world.
God's gift.
Truly, it's such a gift.
Truly.
We have a whole kingdom here that can help us do that.
Right at our fingertips,
Right at our fingertips.
Right out of nature. Amen. So thank you for that. It's like you said, these mushrooms, these fungi, they have codes, And I remember talking to a mutual friend of ours. We were both on his podcast, Cody, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to interview Jenna Kennedy. She's got the money codes." And
he always says that.
Right? And codes for me is like you said, it's getting something, whether it's from nature or from source or from God, uploaded to our system that now is giving us a new perspective, right? And with the new perspective, we have a new trajectory, and now we're off in a different direction in our life. So what is one code that you would like to share with the audience today? If you could share just one code,
Oof.
What would that be?
The tough one. You're not going to tell me that on the way here? I have an hour to think about it?
No, I wanted to spring it on you.
I'm just kidding. One code to drop. Trying to make it something that we haven't spoken about.
Sure.
Then.
Yeah. Well, you've dropped a few codes already.
We did drop a couple codes. You're not going to count those, but that's all right. Oh. This is a tough one, Alex. It honestly would be that we have the power to recode.
Tell me more.
Truly, like we come here, right? And we forget everything, right? Truly, we forget it all. Not all of it. I think children are such a pure look into how much we actually do know, but we're conditioned and we're coded. We're coded by something that's not divine. We're coded by systems. We're coded by greed. We're coded by power. We're coded by illusions. We're coded by, all of these different things, right? Programs from school, from anyone that's in our lives.
That's right.
Right? From the way that they've been coded.
Yeah.
And to truly hold the power that whatever it is, you can recode it. And we're actually meant to recode it.
Right.
That is the human experience in this go around, right? Is to go through all of that coding and conditioning and get into this space of great remembering, and then go through this journey of really recoding. And having friends and community and podcasts and Instagram accounts that you can tune into, that's like, oh my God, oh, I know that code, right? Because you know this, when you receive a code, it's not brand new.
Right.
It's like, oh,
it's like a remembering.
It's a remembering. Right? Like when you're just talking about that with the scientific words of the mushrooms, right?
Sure.
If I was like, oh, yes, right? Like it's a remembering. And so I think that as humans, we can get really stuck in some aspects of our reality, right? Whether it's, what should I do next for work? What should I do next for business? What should I do with this money? Or what should I do? Where should I move? Should we break up or should we stay together? We can get so caught up into all of these different aspects of our lives when it's just like, stop. If I don't love it, if it doesn't feel true, if it doesn't feel pure, if it doesn't feel powerful, if it doesn't light me up, if it doesn't bring me joy, I have the power to recode it, right? And
Boom.
you don't get brownie points for recoding it yourself, right? Like
What do you mean by that?
Like, don't utilize others. Like, we're tribal people, right? Like, call on a friend, call on, listen to more podcasts, get a coach, right? Go to therapy, whatever it is, church, whatever it looks like for you. It's like, you don't get brownie points for trying to do all this inner work by yourself. Like, we are stronger, more strong together.
Right.
When I was in the depths of that darkness, it was so hard for me to admit it to anyone, especially my husband, anyone. My mom would call to act like I was okay, right? And finally one day I said, I'm not okay. And the moment that we do that, right? The moment that we let go of that code that says we have to do it all together and we open up to other people, that's when we can recode that much faster because we're doing it as a collective, not just yourself.
Right. So embrace the collective.
Yeah.
Apply the wisdoms that are given, and don't be afraid to recode. It's a beautiful code, by the way. Thank you for that. And honestly,
a coding about coding.
I love that. I didn't see that coming, but it was beautiful because it really reminds me that you're the creator of your own story, and that can be, once you hear these wisdoms or these codes externally, you'll know there's an internal knowing. There's a Gnostic feeling, if you will, a resonance, and then it's like, okay, and then you can apply it and you create your own story, and be very careful of the story that you want to create because it's truly your story, right? So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That was really
that's
good.
another fun code, right? Of like, what is the story that you're creating?
Right.
Like, as humans, we are made up of stories.
All the time, yeah.
And so what are the ones that you're wanting to create moving forward, and tell yourself that story every single day?
Right. What lights you up?
What lights you up? I would be willing to guess that you probably told yourself a story about this amazing company before it ever actualized and manifested into reality.
Sure did.
Right.
Yeah.
And now you're living it out every single day.
That's part of it. But it's exactly like you said. It was the feeling. It was the lighting up of something even, beyond me, beyond my identity, like we talked about. It was a lighting up of the soul. And I've heard you talk about that too. And I know that's part of your chapter that you're in right now, this new chapter, this new version. Do you want to indulge us in that at all? Or
yeah, I mean, I'm just helping people become more of themselves. I said to my husband a while ago, I said, if I could do anything, right? And I don't think we do this a lot. I got into the coding and conditioning, right? If I could do anything, what would it be? And I said, well, I just want to help people become more of themselves and just spread joy in this world. Like that, and
That's
I looked
beautiful.
at myself in the mirror and I said, why couldn't you just do that? Like, why can't you just do that?
Right.
And so I'm learning how to do that. I'm learning how to create that in the world. There's a couple endeavors that I've got going on that I'm not publicly sharing. I told you about the one that I'm not ready to share it with the world yet.
Yeah.
And just having fun, helping people become more of themselves. And with this passion too of conscious leadership, really supporting people and becoming more of a conscious leader, and having more conscious companies that are having a ripple effect in this world, that are doing good work in this world, and helping people really awaken their next level of success by going deeper and deeper and deeper within themselves. Because we really do have so many of the answers within, almost all of them are within us. And so I'm doing that in a variety of ways, and it's looking nothing like I've ever done before, which is exciting. And in one breath, it could equally become terrifying. Right. That exhilaration and that fear are such similar frequencies. And so I'm telling myself the stories that I'm going to be creating moving forward, and helping people become more themselves, and supporting leaders all over the world.
It's wonderful, because by supporting these leaders all over the world that are making, positive impact, it ripples out, obviously, right? It's a ripple effect, and now millions of people are being affected. I think that's amazing. I think that's truly like a superpower blessing that comes with that, because it's how we started this conversation, is that, you truly want to help people. So by doing that, you're really making waves, and waves of people, millions of people will be affected. So kudos to you. And I wish you 100 years of success on this
Thank
journey.
you.
It sounds amazing. There was something that you said there that I want to take a little backtrack on. It was like knowing that the answers come from within.
Yeah.
What's a practice or a code or a simple practice that the listeners can do to tap into that knowing within? You know, you've mentioned a few times you had it when you shifted from a teacher to this. So how can people do that?
Yeah. Yeah. It can be tough, right? Because we can get so disconnected from our body. And that's why I really believe in like a mind, body, spirit approach to transformation versus just the mind. And so the more in tune that we can be with our bodies, the more calm and present we can be with our bodies, and the more that we can listen to this, right? Which is counterintuitive because we're coded that calm and doesn't equal success or what it is that you want. And so finding, I don't even really necessarily love to call it a practice, because it's more like, how can I exist in a state in which I'm experiencing more peace? Because the more that we can experience this peace, the more that we can listen. And then I believe everyone's intuition speaks a little bit differently.
Right, I agree.
Right? It depends on who you are, how you're designed. Like everyone speaks differently. So learn how your intuition speaks with you. And it can be something really simple. Like in the beginning, when I was learning how to work with my intuition, it was so simple, where I would just ask myself, like, what do I want for dinner today? Right? Do I want pizza or pasta? Right? It's like, what do you want for dinner? And it's like, I kind of want this. And it's like that little, right? I kind of, wait, this piques my interest. I kind of want this. It's like, well, then there you go. That's your choice. So I just kind of learned how to go through life, just asking myself little questions within that had nothing to do with, no order of importance, right? Nothing. Because a lot of people want to tap into their intuition when it has to do with big life-changing events. But you've not learned to listen to your intuition or have a relationship with your intuition in little moments of life. Like, should I go to the gym or should I go for a run? Right? These little moments of time. So build the trust with yourself and build this strength and this certainty within yourself with the small little moments. And then when you've got this big moment of, should I leave my job to start this crazy business, right? Then you actually can tune into your intuition and trust that you're making the right choice.
Wow.
But it's really a relationship, a loving and a trusting relationship with ourselves.
Right.
That can only be cultivated in the peace and in the calm. So I would encourage anyone to ask themselves, how can I discover that?
I love that.
Right? And it probably has a lot to do with shutting your phone off and taking a walk in nature. You know?
Boom. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. And very well said. There's been a few times today where you brought this up, and it's really hitting home now, is asking yourself the questions. You said you love to learn by asking questions. And now I see like you're developing this relationship with yourself internally, intuition, and then it just becomes more and more clear. And then you're able to make decisions based on those little pulses of energy that guide you in this right direction to choose. So super cool. I'm so glad we tapped into that.
Yeah.
I got 2 other questions for you. Hopefully we have time. And I like to ask these to everybody. So they're just, friendly conversation questions. One is, if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Ooh. Any historical figure. From someone who doesn't love history, this is a great question. Part of me goes, it would be Napoleon Hill. Yeah.
Nice. They could grow rich.
Yes.
Cool.
I've learned a lot about Napoleon Hill. And what I think is so fascinating about him is that, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, he didn't have all the answers. What he did was he became a master interviewer. His Think and Grow Rich is not his information.
Right.
It's not his channel. It's not his wisdom and how he got rich. He interviewed thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Questions again.
Questions again. And he wrote a really powerful book called Outwitting the Devil. I don't know if you've ever read it.
I've listened to it. Yeah.
It's a really powerful book. So I would love to sit him down and ask him just what he's learned from interviewing, what he's learned from other people, and what he's learned as a collective. Because he didn't only interview people who succeeded, he also interviewed a ton of people who failed, right? And I would love to sit down and pull out collective patterns to understand more about our programming as a society.
Great answer. And once again, the power of questions, right?
Right?
It's just such a great mindset shift to
Right.
always be curious and
Yeah.
ask, because there's so much knowledge out there, right? And if we don't ask the
So
questions,
much.
how are we
Well,
going to
and
learn?
there's not too many old I wouldn't know if you consider him as, he's not necessarily like a historian in like the history books, right? But very many historians, they did something, right? They led
Right.
and they did something,
Right.
right? So there's an aspect of me that would be like, let's learn leadership from Martin Luther King, right?
Sure.
But it's like, how many historians just humbly went through life to learn how other people were doing things and then create a body of work so
Yeah.
that other people could learn how to do those things
Yeah,
too.
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Thank you.
I was surprised by that, but it's really, really good.
Who would you sit down with?
I'd off the top of my head, I'd probably say Alan Watts. You know,
That was another one in my mind.
there you go.
Good
You
one.
know, just the amazing conversations, and I could just listen for hours and ask a lot of good questions. But I love Alan Watts. I'm a huge fan. That's who comes to mind right now. You know, it might change in a couple of weeks, but right now
I'll text you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, please do. Please do. All right, next and possibly last question. We'll see how it goes. What is one thing that you believe, Jenna, that many of your friends, peers, maybe even family would disagree with you, but you really hold it true to your heart?
Disagree with me. I really believe that we're here. I always say it's a double mission. The first mission is to live an incredible human experience, like truly like an amazing experience here on earth. And the other one is to help people and make this world a better place. You know, I really believe that we're here to shift the world in our own unique way and to leave it a better place. You know, you can talk about the Great Awakening and shifting the levels of consciousness, right? You could talk about just the fact that this world's a tough place and needs a lot of love and light, and needs help, you know, but I believe that we're here for both reasons, you know, that we're not here to sacrifice our happiness or well-being for the good of others, and we're not here to just live the most incredible life, right? We really are here for a double mission. And I think that is what success is. I think that's what fulfillment is, you know, to wake up every day and love the life that you're leading for yourself and love the person that you're ongoingly becoming, but then also be able to go to bed at night with that feeling, you know, those butterflies in your stomach of like, wow, I get to have this impact in this world, you know? And yeah, some people wouldn't agree, but
I would be one of those people. I think that's beautiful, and I can totally relate to that. You know, I can. So thank you. Beautiful answer. Jenna, where can people find you? All this amazing stuff that you're doing and conscious leadership and making a positive impact. Where can they find you and reach out to you?
I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm there. Come find me there.
What's your handle?
The Jenna Kennedy.
At Jenna Kennedy?
Yeah, the Jenna Kennedy.
The Jen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to leave on the table for the viewers today, or
no?
You complete?
I mean, I'm complete. I've loved it. I love that we brought Eons into it as well. You know, I loved hearing more about Eons and the tool in which it can be for all of this work moving forward. So thank you for birthing this beautiful creation of the podcast. And I'm excited to watch the impact, the ripple that it has in the world.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and it's part of my double mission. So thank
you go.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy this conversation, and look forward to more.
Same.
Awesome. Thank you.